Oke, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello my friend, I am Imelsa Dwi Veronica, 19720081, and my friend Sinta Ulisya Gia, 19720085, and Anggrahita Nikampai Tiwi, 19720079, will present to you all our concept of translation process and competence of translation. And here is where our presentation began.
Okay, here I'm as the first speaker. I will explain to you all about concept of translation process. The description of translating procedure is operational. It begins with choosing a method of approach. Secondly, when we are translating, we translate with four levels more or less consciously in mind. Okay, here the fourth level of translation process. The first level is the short language text, the level of language. So the second, the referential level, the level of object and event, real or imaginary. And the third is the cohesive level, and the last is the level of naturalness. First, the short language text level, the level of language, where we begin and which we continually but not continuously go back to. Second, the referential level, the level of object and event, real or imaginary, which we progressively have to visualize and build up, and which is an essential part, first of the comprehension, then of the reproduction process. Third, the cohesive level. This level encompasses both comprehension and reproduction. It presents an overall picture to which we might have to adjust the language level. So the last is the level of naturalness, of common language appropriate to the writer or the speaker in a certain situation. Again, this is a generalized level which constitutes a band which the translator works, unless he is translating an authoritative text, in which case he sees the level of naturalness as a point of reference to determine the deviation, if any, between the author's level he is pursuing and the natural level. This level of naturalness is concerned only with reproduction.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, my name is Anggrahita Niken Pratiwi. My ID number is 19320079, and now I would like to continue the previous material that have been already presented by my friend Imelsa about translation process. And here we begins. Thank you. Here we begin with translation process by Nida and Taber. In this translation process, we have three parts or three steps. Yes, three steps that we should do before conducting a translation. The first is analysis, and the second is transfer, and the third is restructuring. In analysis, in the first part, there are two terms that should be analyzed. The first is about grammatical relationship, and the second is about the meaning of the words and combination words. Then the material that have been already analyzed is transferred in the mind of translator from the language A to the language B, or we can code it from the source language to the target language. Okay, and then the transferred material is restructured in order to make the full message that could be accepted by receptor language translation. Okay, and next, there are two approaches of translation and many compromises between them. The first, we can start translating sentence by sentence. For say the first paragraph or chapter to get the feel and the feeling tone of the text. And then we can deliberately sit back, review the position, and read the rest of the SL text. The second, we can read the whole text 2 or 3 times and find the intention register, tone, and mark the difficult words and passages. And start translating only when we have already taken our bearings. Then, the next is about competence of translation. According to Hurtado, Albiet, and Alves 2009, translation is not only about communication and textual operation, but also a result of cognitive process of the translator. Therefore, every translator should have good skill to translation, or as known as translation competence, in order to translate text very well. And here, one of well-known group which consists of the translation expert, yes, one of well-known group which consists of translation experts, Pakte, 2011, explains that translation competence is divided into 6 subcompetences. Those are: the first is bilingual competence, extralinguistics competence, instrumental competence, strategic competence, psychophysiology competence, knowledge for competence or translation notion. And here we have the translation competence, that the diagram of translation competence by Pakte 2003. Strategic competence, which consists of bilingual subcompetence, extralinguistic subcompetence, knowledge about translation subcompetence, instrumental subcompetence. And between of instrumental subcompetence and knowledge about translation subcompetence, there are psychophysiological components. And in the following parts, this will be explained by my friends Uli. And thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Inta Olisiakian. My ID number is 1932008 and 5. Now it's my turn to explain to you about the competence of translation. At the previous slide, my friend has explained to you about the introduction of competence of translation and also the chart. Now this is my time to explain you more about those 6 competences of translation, which is very important for translators. Okay, the first one is bilingual competence. This competence is needed for translators to know, to understand the languages, both the target language and the original language. For example, when I want to translate Indonesian to Japanese, I should know and understand very well the Japanese and the Indonesian to make the result is perfect, right? And the next slide is extralinguistics competence. This competence is needed for translators to know and understand the culture of the language. For example, is a well-known idiom, never cried over spilled milk. It is actually can be translated to Indonesian idiom, nasi telah menjadi bubur. You know, from those idioms, there are different culture of different object, even though the meaning is same. It shows that the translation can also use different culture related to daily meal of a country. Next slide is instrumental competence. This competence is needed for translators to use various resources. The resources is various, like I said before, uh, such as dictionary. Dictionary can also be conventional and also modern. And in conventional we have thesaurus. In modern we have, for online we have KBBI for Indonesian, and also Longman and Oxford for English. Next is strategical competence. This competence is needed for translators to have some strategies during translating the languages. The strategy can be various, such as planning before translating, and then evaluate the result and evaluate the process of translation. Next is psychophysiology competence. So the translators also need to build psychophysiology competence related to cognitive process, because translating is not only transferring two different languages, but also more important aspect. So it needs psychophysiology and cognitive process, such as perception, attention, emotion, curiosity, critical thinking, creativity, logical thinking, analysis, and so forth. And the last one is knowledge about competence. Sure, we have to have knowledge before doing something, and it also happens when we want to translate languages. The knowledge about competence can also be varied, such as theories and how to practice translation, the method, the procedures, and so forth. All of the competences that I have told before is aimed to make the result of translation very well and very perfect. That's all from me. I'm sorry for any mistakes. Wish it will be beneficial for you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.